You're looking at the countryside of Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, not far from Route 202, which is where I am basically hanging out for lunch. So hello everybody, it is Crazy Tom, about to give you the 9th episode of the rankings of the top 32 teams in the NFL. Of course, I got the shades on because the sun is glaring right into my eyes as we are in standard time here. I will give you the countdown in a moment, but I want to give you a couple quick changes here. First of all, something regarding the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, for 2 of the next 3 weeks, are going to have games at 4:25 instead of 1 o'clock. They, of course, had that game at Green Bay moved to 4:25 for this Sunday. But then 2 weeks from now, in week 12 rather. I'll get the numbers right. Can't seem to get them right these days. But 2 weeks later in week 12, the Dolphins will be against the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. That game also got moved to 4:25. Miami's in the hunt, folks. That's probably why the NFL did that for them. So watch the Dolphins be a bit on late TV in the next couple of weeks. Another thing to consider, we've had a big schedule change, of course, for Sunday Night Football. If you haven't heard already, the Steelers-Jaguars Sunday night game for Week 11, nope, I knew that was not going to take place because the Jaguars lost 4 in a row. They stink. And although Pittsburgh lost the Sunday night game, they may get one back in Week 13 because they're playing home against the Chargers. And that game looks to be the leading candidate for Sunday Night Football to probably replace the 49ers and Seahawks, which is Week 13. And Pittsburgh may actually lose another game on Sunday Night Football because they play at the Oakland Raiders. That probably will not stand either. So the other thing to consider, that here's something you'll find hard to believe. The game they replaced the Steelers-Jaguars game in Week 11 is the Vikings at the Bears at Soldier Field. That's now the new Sunday night game for Week 11. This means now the Minnesota Vikings will have 3 Sunday night games in 5 weeks. Of course, they hosted the New Orleans Saints. Now they'll be at Chicago for Week 11 Sunday Night Football. And then Week 12, they're home to the Green Bay Packers. And they're not moving that game either, even though Green Bay is probably going to be desperate. So, and I'll tell you, they were almost set to put the Eagles Saints in the Sunday Night Football slot. But the problem is, if the NFL had done that, the Eagles would have been maxed out. And if they were to play for an important game in Week 17, the best they would have done would be a 4:25 game. Because the Eagles, remember, this Sunday they're home against the Cowboys. About 3 weekends from now, they're at Washington they're home to Washington on Monday night. And then they're at the Rams for a Sunday night game in Week 15. They've already had two appearances, the season opener against Atlanta and then the Thursday nighter against the New York Giants. So that's why the Eagles Saints instead is going to get the 4:25 game for Week 11 next week. Not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday in New Orleans. And that will be the feature game on Fox. So again, the Sunday night game for Week 11 is the Vikings at the Bears instead of the Steelers and Jaguars. The Week 12 game between the Dolphins and the Colts, that is now a 4:25 game. Remember, the Dolphins and the Packers, that game is also 4:25 for this Sunday. And the Eagles Saints for Week 11, that's a 4:25 game. But as I said for Pittsburgh, they may have lost their Sunday night game. They may get it back for Week 13 because they host the Chargers in Pittsburgh that night, or at least that weekend. And the scheduled Sunday night game is the 49ers at the Seahawks, and that is not going to stay, I promise you that. So and also on Week 13, the Vikings play at New England. Fox has already shriveled it down to a 4:25 game. So that's all there is to it with the schedule. Anyway, let's now go to the 32 teams. Let's rank them real quick, 32 to number 1. Beginning with number 32, the New York Giants, although I don't think they're number 32 right now as far as I'm concerned. I'll explain why in a minute. Yeah, they had a bye week and all of New York said, thank God. But going to the Knicks and Rangers, not the brightest idea. They probably could go to the Islanders and get a little bit of happiness there. Giants are at San Francisco on Monday night for this Monday night, so that'll be an interesting Snoresville type of game. Number 31, the Oakland Raiders. They probably should be tied with the Giants for last, but 3 points on Thursday in San Fran. I'll tell you what, the 49er cheerleaders probably taking a knee and saying, pray for a good game. Nope. It was an absolute blowout. So So the Raiders, boy, they're horrible, but they host the Carson City Chargers on Sunday. That might be an interesting game considering it is a good rivalry. Number 30, the Buffalo Bills, and they're back to being dreadful. I thought they had a chance to beat the Bears given what happened the week before, but then I didn't hear that Peterman was the quarterback. And when that happens, good night. And it was 41-9. That is god-awful. Well, they're at the Jets on Sunday. Pray that he's not the quarterback. That's all I have to say. Number 29, the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, I mentioned about the cheerleader taking a knee. I know the season's over. Pray nobody gets hurt. Pray the cheerleader doesn't get disciplined. But as I said, their game against the New York Giants is on Monday night, and I'm not sure how many people are going to be watching that one. Consider the next Monday night on I believe it is the 19th. How about the Chiefs and the Rams? Game of the year on Monday Night Football. So you're going to have a dud before a great one. That's all I can tell you. Number 28, the Arizona Cardinals. They stay put after the bye week. And the Cardinals, I mean, this could be a big surprise. They're at Kansas City on Sunday. Now, they've had a bye. Kansas City's just going through their business. This could be a trap game for the Chiefs. Arizona has had a week of rest. We know Kansas City's 99.9% likely, I would say 100%, will win the AFC West because the Chargers can't win the West. Otherwise, the NFL would lose tens and tens of millions of dollars if that were to happen. So, but I see an interesting game with the Cardinals and the Chiefs, so might be a bit tougher for Kansas City because Arizona has had the extra week off and they're under no pressure since they're not going anywhere anyway. Number 27, the Dallas Cowboys, who should be number 33 on my list because of the despicable display and embarrassment to the nation in their performance against Tennessee. Yak Prescott must be benched, the entire coaching staff must be fired, and the fact that neither of these things have happened, don't be surprised if the Dallas Cowboys do not win another game this year. Mark my word, from a 40-plus year lifelong Cowboys fan, they will not win another game next year, and it's still not worse this year, and it's not worst case scenario. They could lose out and go 3-13. They lose their first round pick, of course, getting Amari Cooper. But you know what could be worse? Jason Garrett coming back. When a 7-year-old writes Jerry Jones and says, "You suck," you know what? That 7-year-old should be the new head coach of the Cowboys. Enough said. Plus, Sean Lee is out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Now, the only saving grace for the Cowboys as they're at Philly on Sunday Night Football is the fact that they've done very well at Lincoln Financial Field. Now, of course, the place opened in 2013. I think they're like 9-6 or 10-5 at home. Against the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. So we will see how this game goes on Sunday night. I don't expect it to be a contest. Number 26, and I'll embarrass the Cowboys further, the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, the Browns are getting ahead of the Cowboys, even though they probably don't have as good of a team. But I had to give it to them. They still stay competitive, but they're just overmatched by the good teams. They have a chance, I think, on Sunday. They play the Atlanta Falcons, so we'll see how that all goes. Number 25, the New York Jets. They looked awful at Miami. I thought they would pick them off, but it didn't work out, and the weather sure didn't work in the Jets' favor either in a defensive struggle. So the Jets, they licked their wounds, and we'll see if Sam Darnold can get off the turf as they play the Buffalo Bills at home. Number 24, and staying put, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, when you have a bye week, you don't go up or down the next week. So Jacksonville trying to recover. They've already lost their Sunday night game to Pittsburgh. They've lost 4 in a row, had a bye week. They stink. Let's see if they can get off the mat when they play at Indianapolis. Number 23, and with the bye week this week, the Denver Broncos. I thought they had a chance to beat the Texans, but I'll tell you what, that missed field goal, that is just plain out awful. The fact that they couldn't quite get it done against Houston, that kind of tells you the Broncos are going nowhere except third place in the AFC West, and now they have a week to think about the missed field goal. Number 22, the Detroit Lions, who can't really get out of their way because they can't seem to score. And ever since that brilliant performance by Coach Patricia against the Patriots, they have gone absolutely nowhere. They just don't have the talent around Matt Stafford. They just don't. And they're at Chicago for this coming Sunday. Number 21, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They keep fighting, but they keep falling short, and they keep finding ways to not find a quarterback. We can just leave it at that. Tampa Bay will be home against Washington, who I think they have some wounds to lick themselves. We'll see if Tampa can take advantage of it. Number 20, the Green Bay Packers. I think you can pretty much say this is not the same Packers team. They're still going to be fighting. They'll be battling the Bears and the Vikings. Now, of course, they have one more game with the Bears at Soldier Field later in the year, so the Packers aren't going down without a fight, but this might be the year where they have to kind of scramble their brains and say, who can we put around Aaron Rodgers to make the team better? As I said, Packers home to Miami, and again, it's a 4:25 Eastern game at Lambeau Field. Number 19, the Indianapolis Colts, of course, staying put after their bye week last week as they host the Jacksonville Jaguars. That'll be an interesting game, of course, in the division. Number 18, the Baltimore Ravens, and boy, have they fallen and fallen fast. The Ravens, I thought, may have had one of the best defenses, but their offense really hasn't been able to do much, and teams have been able to figure out Baltimore's defense. Steelers got them in that grudge match last week, which I thought they would win, and they absolutely did. The Ravens now have a week to think about as they have the bye. Number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons, they had probably their best game of the year at Washington. That was a big surprise because we thought the Falcons were pretty much done for. Not yet, says Matt Ryan, and 38-14 kind of says it all right there. Falcons had their best performance, the Redskins their worst, and for that to happen in D.C., boy, that could be a little bit of a troubling sign. As I said, Atlanta is at Cleveland for Sunday, so keep an eye on that. And, of course, then they host the Cowboys the following week. Number 16, the Philadelphia Eagles, who, of course, had their bye week last week. They're resting, of course, Darren Sproles looking to come back, but then I heard he got injured, I think it was yesterday or today, so he may be out a few more weeks. We'll see what happens with that. Of course, the Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. But I don't expect that game to necessarily be a 44-6 game like the I Quit game of 2008. What I do think is you could see it pretty much go back and forth. If the Cowboys defense and Van Der Esch can get themselves going against the Eagles offensive line, I mean, it's a tough chore, but like I said, I think the Cowboys are 10-5 at Lincoln Financial Field since that stadium opened, so Cowboys have had a lot of success there, so Eagles fans, do not put a W in that column just yet, even though the Cowboys right now cannot beat Sam Houston State University. Number 15, the Tennessee Titans, an impressive win over the Cowboys, of course, on Monday Night Football. Definitely their best performance of the year, and I'll tell you one thing, it also helps when Yak Prescott can't do anything on third and long through his entire career. But the Titans have a short week, and they host the New England Patriots on Sunday, so that ought to be interesting. Number 14, the Seattle Seahawks, of course, coming off their loss to the Chargers. Seahawks are still in the wild card hunt, and I think they will be for the foreseeable future. But I really think they may have something. If they're going to stay in that race, they're going to have to go to L.A. and beat the Rams, and that is not an easy chore. They kept the Rams close the first time, but didn't quite come through. Let's see what happens in the rematch on Sunday. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins, of course, the defensive battle over the Jets in a rainy Hard Rock Stadium. Now they go to Green Bay to play Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. That's going to be a big test for them. But the Dolphins, like I said, they're in the playoff hunt, and that's why they got a couple of 425 games in the next couple of weeks. Number 12, number 12, the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings, of course, impressive over the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Now, they have a bye week, and as I said to you, this team is going to have 3 Sunday night games in 5 weeks. Of course, round 8 against New Orleans didn't work out. Now they'll have one when they come back from their bye, week 11 at Chicago at Soldier Field, and then week 12 they're home to Green Bay, another Sunday night game. So they're going to be on prime time a lot once they come back from the bye. Number 11, the Washington Redskins. Boy, did they take a fall and fall hard, 38-14. They're going to need to find a way to recover against Tampa Bay. Now, it all depends really on who the quarterback of Tampa Bay is going to be for that game, if the Redskins are going to bounce back. Philly is already saying they won the division after the Redskins' performance, but just remember, they still haven't learned. They win a Super Bowl, and they still haven't learned to get over their arrogance. Remember, Philly's Super Bowl was handed to them by Roger Goodell. Number 10, the Cincinnati Bengals, who stayed at number 10 because of their bye week last week. Now they have a tough challenge as the New Orleans Saints come and visit the Bengals. Now, this could be a game where the Bengals pick the Saints off. Here's why. It's probably going to be cold in Cincinnati. Dome team outdoors in cold weather. Can the Saints withstand that after a huge win over the previously undefeated Rams? That could be a game where the Saints get picked off. We'll see. Number 9, the Chicago Bears. Of course, they did their business and they stomped the Buffalo Bills. Now they're home to the Detroit Lions. Got a couple home games in a row. They got to the Lions on Sunday, and then the following Sunday night, they are home to Minnesota. So I think the Bears are in pretty good shape right now. You know they're probably going to be in one of the top 2 spots for the NFC North. Number 8, the Houston Texans, who won 6 in a row. And the only bad thing about this streak, their bye week is this week. They surprised me with their win over Denver on Sunday. Now they have a week to think about things. And then they are at Washington after the bye week. That should be a rather interesting game, but the Texans can actually rest. Number 7 and number 6 are the teams playing Thursday night. The Steelers are number 7. The Panthers are number 6. Steelers on an absolute roll. They won their grudge match over Baltimore. Who needs Le'Veon Bell? The Steelers are better off without him. And then, of course, number 6, the Carolina Panthers, who, of course, beat Tampa Bay 42-28. They still keep on rolling. Now, those two teams are facing off each other on Thursday night, which happens to be in a few hours. And I really think Pittsburgh wins the game because they have the better running game. Carolina doesn't have much of a running game, but we'll see what happens there. Like I said, Steelers-Panthers, that'll take place Thursday night, tonight, at Heinz Field. Number 5, the Carson City Chargers. They keep going about their business, of course, as they will be at Oakland for... Are they at Oakland? Oh, yeah, that's right. They are at Oakland. I, for some reason, thought they were hosting the Raiders. I was incorrect in that assessment. So the Chargers at Oakland should be an interesting game, considering it's a pretty deep rivalry. Number 4, the New England Patriots. Hey, they're the Patriots. 1-2 start, haven't lost since. What else is new? They're at Tennessee, and they could pick Tennessee off right there because of the fact Tennessee's off an emotional win, short week, Patriots doing their business at number 4. Number 3, the previously unbeaten Los Angeles Rams, who of course took one to the chin against the Saints. Although they came back, they just ran out of gas at the very end. The Rams host the Seahawks, and that will be on Sunday. Number 2, as I mentioned, the New Orleans Saints, who beat those Los Angeles Rams. Now, if there's a tiebreaker, the Saints have the number 1 seed out of division winners. So the Saints, who will be at Cincinnati this Sunday and home to the Eagles next Sunday, boy, they're going to have an interesting time on their hands, to say the least. But like I said, could be a game that could be a heck of a lot more difficult for the Saints because, remember, they're on the road, came off a win over a previously unbeaten team, dome team, outdoors, probably in cold weather. This could be a game they get picked off by the Bengals. We'll see. The new number 1 team. What else is new? You kind of knew this was going to happen. The Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, they just keep going and going and going. They're 8-1 right now. They will look to make it 9-1 as they're home against Arizona. This might be, and I should mention this. This might be a tougher game for the Chiefs than you might think. Arizona has a bye week. But next week, the Chiefs are at the Rams. Monday Night Football game of the year. So this could be a look-ahead game against a team that has had a week off. It may come down to the wire, and I think the Chiefs will win, but I think Arizona could cover this very easily. So we'll see what happens. All right, so real quick before I get back on the road, we'll give you 32 to number 1 one more time and get on out of here. So here they are again from least to best. 32 to number 1, beginning Giants, Raiders, Bills, 49ers, Cardinals, Cowboys, Browns, Jets, Jaguars, Broncos, Lions, Buccaneers, Packers, Colts, Ravens, and Falcons at number 17. Then 16 on up, Eagles, Titans, Seahawks, Dolphins, Vikings, Redskins, Bengals, Bears, Texans, Steelers, Panthers, Chargers, and finally the 4, Patriots, Rams, Saints, and the new number 1 team, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you gotta play some football. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Crazy Tom here from Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. Thank you for watching another mess of a ranking of the NFL. I hope everybody's enjoying their Thursday. Please, whatever you do, stay warm out there and enjoy your football. Of course, if you're watching Thursday night with the Panthers and the Steelers, or any Sunday or Monday game you may want to check out. So be well, everyone, and we'll be back again next week, and we'll do that 32 all over again.